Truth is, we all deserve compassion, support, and the chance to heal. I came across this quote online, but unfortunately, I am unable to attribute it to its original author. Edit. No edits have been made. Update. No updates have been made. TLDR. A quote highlighting the importance of recognizing the equal weight of all traumas and the need for compassion and support. When I was in high school, I attached clear packing tape to a dollar and put it into a vending machine. Right before the dollar went all the way in, I would pull it out, which allowed me to get a soda and 50 cents change. A kid told me how to do it, so I tried it myself. During my high school days, I discovered a clever way to manipulate a vending machine. By carefully attaching clear packing tape to a dollar bill and feeding it into the machine, I could yank it back out just in time, claiming a soda and change in the process. A classmate had initially revealed this trick to me, which sparked my curiosity and led me to give it a try. Although the technique only worked on one specific machine at school, it still managed to deceive the vending machine. My peers and I soon fell into a habit, using this exploit to collect unopened sodas, which would accumulate in the storage room until we couldn't consume them all. In hindsight, I realize my actions were not only deceitful but also problematic. Despite knowing the consequences of my actions, I continued to participate in this scheme. Now, I'm filled with regret for ever having engaged in such behavior. Edit. The story revolves around a high school prank that went too far, involving tampering with vending machines to acquire free items. The protagonist acknowledges the wrongness of their actions and expresses remorse for their past behavior. Update. This story serves as a cautionary tale about the consequences of engaging in deceitful behavior, even if it may seem harmless at first. TL. Infertile. Woman here. I don't understand why being infertile is such a huge deal when there are millions of children and babies out there that are in need of adoption. Said what I said. I don't understand the need that some women feel to have their own blood-related child. A woman struggling with infertility expressed her puzzlement. Why is it so significant to have a child biologically related to oneself when millions of children and infants are awaiting adoption? She questioned the emphasis some women place on having their own biological child, particularly when it leads to extreme measures such as IVF, hormone treatments, and discontinuing crucial medication. To her, the physical experience of pregnancy doesn't seem to justify such drastic efforts. Edit. Thank you all for sharing your perspectives. I now feel more informed about the issue. I, 25F, just found out my husband's, 38M, latest affair is a 19-year-old girl. So maybe I don't need to worry about divorcing him after all. Maybe she is wife-free for him. He told me about her last night. He was home late and slightly drunk. But he knew what he was saying. I've recently been dealt another crushing blow in my marriage. My husband's latest infidelity has left me feeling shattered, as I've just discovered he's been carrying on a relationship with a 19-year-old woman. It appears his past behavior is a trend rather than an isolated incident. Perhaps I'm not as concerned about divorce as I initially thought. Maybe I'll be his third wife after all. The conversation took place last night, after he arrived home late and slightly inebriated. Yet, despite his intoxicated state, his words still cut deep. I believe he intentionally delivered the news to cause me pain, and it succeeded in its aim. Now, I'm focused on planning my departure from this toxic relationship. While finding another partner seems a daunting task, especially given the physical challenges I've faced due to cancer, I'm determined to move forward. At least, I have the security of knowing my children will always be there for me. Any words of encouragement would be a welcome solace during this difficult time. Don't throw your gloves on the ground. Quick and simple petty revenge. I leave the grocery store this morning for my family's essentials, and as I'm loading my car, lady next to me takes off her gloves and threw them on the ground. Miss, don't litter. I'm given the sailor S. Mind your trash. A petty act of defiance. This morning, after picking up my family's groceries, I'm loading my car when the lady next to me carelessly discards her gloves on the ground. Excuse me, ma'am, I say politely, please don't litter. In response, she gives me a mock salute and gets into her vehicle. I decide to take a more creative approach to teaching her a lesson. I walk over, pick up her gloves, and discreetly slide them through her car's windshield wiper, causing a loud clunk as I slam it shut. I catch a glimpse of her growing agitated in the driver's seat, but I'm unbothered. I get into my car and drive off, leaving her to deal with the consequences of her actions. Pick up after yourselves, people. My GF broke up with me and called me a psychopath for killing people in GTA 5 Friday at 7 p.m. My GF came home and she sat next to me while I was playing GTA 5 on my PS4. I got cocky because someone was watching me, so I started banging people, driving over them, making all sorts of a disheartening incident. Last Friday evening at 7 p.m., my girlfriend arrived home and sat beside me as I played Grand Theft Auto 5 on my PlayStation 4. Feeling a bit carefree with an audience, I started to get involved in the game's storyline, indulging in violent scenes where my character would harm and kill other characters. I was joking around, taking the game's narrative as entertainment. Unfortunately, my girlfriend took it differently. She appeared visibly upset, which caught me off guard. She bluntly called me a psychopath and stated that I needed professional help. She then left my home, and we haven't spoken for over a week. I'm left with the uncertainty of how to bridge the gap between her reaction and my intentions. I genuinely want her to know that I'm sorry for my thoughtless behavior, and I didn't mean to cause her any distress. Edit: I'm trying to find ways to make amends with my girlfriend. If you have any advice or suggestions, I'd greatly appreciate it. Update: I've reached out to her, and we've had a brief conversation. She's still upset, but we're working on communicating our feelings and trying to move forward. TLDR: my girlfriend got upset when my husband wants to eat mashed potatoes and gravy off my chest. LMAO, so I made pork chops, mashed potatoes with mushroom gravy for dinner, and now my husband is asking to eat mash and gravy off my titties. I thought he was joking, but man is serious. Should I let him? Side note: my husband has a peculiar craving to indulge in a plate of comfort food, mashed potatoes smothered in rich mushroom gravy, and he wants me to serve it directly to him from a rather unconventional location. I burst into laughter when my husband requested to have mashed potatoes and gravy served off my breasts. At first, I thought he was teasing, but his determination suggests he's completely serious. Should I humor his unusual request? By the way, we've been experiencing a bit of a lull in our intimate activities lately due to our newborn's arrival. Edit: I didn't anticipate this post would gain so much attention. Your comments have been hilarious, and it's wonderful to see my husband enjoying the spotlight. I'm having trouble containing my laughter, and I'm grateful that we can all share a laugh about this. AITA for refusing to do matching names with my future twins. I, 33M, am a future parent to 2 twin boys. Me and my wife have recently been deciding names for our twins, and my wife wants them to be matching. I said I don't like the idea. I have a twin sister who I match. Am I the asshole for opposing the idea of matching names for my future twin boys? As a soon-to-be father at 33, my wife and I have been debating names for our upcoming twin sons. My wife is drawn to the idea of matching names, but I've expressed my reservations. Growing up as a twin myself, I had a constant companion in my twin sister, and we often shared everything, including clothes and accessories. It got old for me. I believe it would be good for our kids to have some individuality, letting them decide when and if they want to dress alike or have matching interests. My wife finds it adorable, but I've suggested that we avoid the matching names and only consider coordinating their interests, such as picking out matching Halloween costumes. However, my wife is still opposed to the idea, and my mother-in-law is advising me to reconsider. Surprisingly, my sister has sided with me on this matter. Am I in the wrong for opposing matching names for my future twin sons? Edit: some people might point out that having matching names is just a fun aspect of having twins, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. Perhaps we can find a compromise that works for both me and my wife. Update: just because I have hobbies or interests doesn't mean I'm good at them or know much about them. I don't want to make an excuse, but it could be partially due to depression and mental illness that I don't do my hobbies or read up on my interests that much. But yeah, don't expect. It's essential to differentiate between having interests and being proficient in them. Just because I engage in various hobbies doesn't imply that I'm skilled or well-versed in those areas. My lack of participation in hobbies and reading about my interests might be partly attributed to depression and mental health struggles. However, it's crucial not to make assumptions about my abilities based on my interests. I shouldn't be expected to be an expert in drawing or possess in-depth knowledge of history just because I enjoy them. Similarly, don't assume I'm a genius in math solely because I have some familiarity with it. In reality, I'm just an average person, possibly even below average in certain aspects. Edit. My messages seem to be having issues, and I appreciate the recognition I've received, whoever it was. Your kindness means a lot to me. TIFU by attempting suicide without realizing it. So, as I was making myself breakfast this morning, I for some reason started wondering what would happen if I touched one of the glowing wires inside the toaster while it was on. Being the very intelligent man I am, I of course d. A morning of near disaster. As I busied myself making breakfast this morning, a peculiar notion struck me. What would happen if I were to briefly touch a live electrical wire within the toaster? Given my analytical mind, I logically deduced it wouldn't be wise to risk electrocution by making contact with the wire using my bare hands. So, I fetched a fork from the nearby drawer and, without much thought, inserted it into the toaster's internal wiring. The toaster suddenly ceased functioning after a brief surge of electricity escaped. I failed to grasp the gravity of my actions, merely shrugging it off and returning the fork to its storage. It wasn't until I reached for the bread that the implications became apparent. The wires were indeed live, and I had narrowly avoided electrocution. My location at the time also proved fortunate. My hand wasn't in contact with the nearby metal dishwashing table, which could have acted as a conduit for the electric current and potentially led to a more severe outcome. If I had been leaning against the table to access the toaster more conveniently, the consequences might have been dire. I've chosen not to share the details with anyone, and it seems unlikely that I will. TLDR. Curiosity almost led to catastrophe. I moved out and took everything. It became apparent to me last week that my roommates were trying to drive me out of the house to get one of their boyfriends in on my lease. When I told them I wanted to stay, they started staging incidents, messes around the house so they could why. It all came crashing down for me when I realized my roommates had been secretly conspiring against me, trying to get one of their boyfriends on the lease at my expense. When I refused to budge, they began manipulating the situation to their advantage, creating chaos and messes around the house as a pretext to berate me. The tension finally boiled over when they called a confrontational meeting with me 2 days ago. During that explosive encounter, one roommate had to physically restrain the other as she unleashed a tirade of insults, screaming that she detested me and wouldn't want me living in the building. They also accused me of being a freeloader, contributing nothing to the household and wasting their space. To rub salt in the wound, they claimed they'd gotten the landlady on their side, convincing her not to renew my lease in June. I took their threats in stride, assuring them I'd speak with the landlady. When I met with her, she acknowledged that my roommates had indeed overstepped their boundaries, but also revealed that she'd given them authority to let my lease lapse. However, she also made it clear that I was free to vacate the premises at any time, without owing a single day's rent for the TIFU by using coconut oil to eat ass. This foo occurs after a recent innovation in the bedroom. Coconut oil. It's great. It's solid until it's on your skin, and then it's a wonderful long-lasting lubricant that tastes delicious, and is easy to clean up afterward. I accidentally turned a delicious meal into a sensual experience. This mishap happened after introducing a new and exciting addition to our intimate routine. Coconut oil. It has its perks. When applied to the skin, it melts and provides a long-lasting lubricant with a tasty flavor, making cleanup a breeze. It has become our go-to choice for a few months now when we're getting intimate. So, what's the embarrassing part? My partner and I decided to join our friends for a Thai food double date. My partner ordered a bowl of coconut curry, while I opted for fried rice. As you might have guessed, things took an unexpected turn. She offered me a bite of her curry, and I agreed. Instant arousal. The flavor of the curry sent my mind back to a very different kind of experience, one that I should have kept to the bedroom. With a sudden, uninvited erection, I found myself sitting at a table with our friends, desperately trying to conceal my reaction to a perfectly normal but not remotely intimate dish. My partner thought it was amusing. Coconut eggplant TLDR. I've conditioned myself into getting an erection whenever I taste coconut. TIFU by almost committing a war crime. Obligatory, not today. This was about 10 years ago. I started doing stand-up when I was in the army, in Afghanistan, actually. I started telling stories around the fire at night, but eventually started doing shows in the chow hall or. My stand-up stumbled into a war crime, a confession. This happened about a decade ago. During my time in the army, specifically in Afghanistan, I began doing stand-up comedy to entertain my fellow soldiers. Initially, I would share stories around the campfire at night, but eventually, I started performing at the chow hall and during talent shows on larger bases. My comedy skills were, to put it mildly, lacking. I was so bad that sometimes people would rather go on patrol than watch me perform. Determined to improve, I ordered a book on comedy and began working on my crowd work and physicality. I thought if I could make the interpreters laugh despite the language barrier, I'd be on the right track to becoming a better comedian. When we detained several suspected Taliban fighters on our base, I saw an opportunity too good to pass up. I volunteered for guard duty shifts, attempting to do stand-up for them in the hopes of getting some laughs. I'd try out jokes, ask for their names and backgrounds, anything that could be turned into a punchline. However, the silence was deafening, not a single one of them laughed. Eventually, they were picked up by Intel, and one of them complained about my jokes, specifically. AITA for telling coworkers extremely bluntly why I'm not participating in the office weight loss bet. Someone got the brilliant idea to make an office diet bet due to COVID gains, with people pooling in their money to see who can lose the most weight by Thanksgiving. I am one. Was I in the wrong for telling my coworkers bluntly why I wouldn't participate in the office weight loss bet? A recent workplace weight loss bet was initiated by colleagues, who pooled their money to see who could lose the most weight by Thanksgiving. 7 people, including myself, decided not to participate, citing various reasons such as pregnancy, bodybuilding, and maintaining their weight. Given my noticeable weight gain, they expected me to join in, but I declined. The person in charge, Jen, kept reminding me to submit my form and contribute money. I told her I wasn't interested, but she wouldn't let it go. My colleagues kept asking me to participate, claiming it would be fun, and that I would feel and look better if I did. They even attempted to convince me by saying it was like joining a weight loss program like Weight Watchers. When I continued to refuse, they started dropping hints, saying I was being scared and that it would be good for me. 2 weeks into the bet, they tried to trick me into stepping on the scale to shock me into participating. I contacted HR, and they finally backed down. However, the situation didn't end there. I was eating in the office when my colleagues started discussing how great TIFU by telling both my wife and mom about an item on eBay I wanted for my birthday. They unknowingly got into a bidding war against each other and drove the price up considerably. So my birthday is coming up and I found an item on eBay that I thought would be cool as a present. The birthday gift fiasco. As my birthday approached, I stumbled upon an intriguing item on eBay that caught my eye. In a moment of carelessness, I casually mentioned it to both my wife and my mom, assuming they wouldn't take any action. I underestimated their enthusiasm, however. Before I knew it, both women had discovered the item and decided to place bids, hoping to secure it as a birthday gift for me. Unbeknownst to them, they had inadvertently launched a bidding war against each other. The price skyrocketed by nearly $200 before my wife emerged victorious. In hindsight, it would have been more practical for one of them to purchase the item in store for $50 less than the winning price. As I received the gift, I couldn't help but laugh at the unexpected turn of events that had unfolded. TLDR. I mentioned to both my wife and mom about an item on eBay I thought would be nice for my birthday. They unknowingly got into a bidding war against each other and drove the price up considerably. AITA for kicking out one of my bridesmaids for showing up in the wrong dress? My 23F wedding was back on Saturday, December 31st, and I'm still getting backlash from this, so I want to know if this was an move. In the country I live in it's currently winter, and we get a FA. Was I an overreactor for ejecting one of my bridesmaids for wearing the wrong dress at my winter-themed wedding? It's been a few days since my 23F wedding on December 31st, and I'm still facing backlash from this incident. I'd like to know if I overstepped my boundaries by removing one of my bridesmaids for not adhering to the dress code. Given my location's harsh winter climate, I chose a winter-themed wedding with a forest green and gold color scheme. My white wedding gown and bridesmaids' forest green dresses perfectly complemented the theme, while my MOH's black dress added a touch of elegance. Everyone was required to wear gold accessories to complete the look. I had a friend, whom I'll refer to as Kat, who I asked to be one of my bridesmaids. During our dress shopping excursion, Kat expressed her dislike for the forest green color, suggesting alternative hues like pink, blue, or red. However, I politely declined her suggestions, explaining that the chosen color was integral to the winter theme. Kat even asked if she could wear black, but I explained that this was a privilege reserved for my mo. As the wedding day progressed, Kat arrived 30 minutes late, carrying a TIFU by putting a thong that was not my wife's in her underwear drawer. This happened 2 days ago. So last week I found a thong on the floor in my living room. Smelt it like the animal I am, was clean, and put it in my wife's underwear drawer. 2 days ago in the evening, my wife. I just had the most epic fail, and it's all because of my curiosity and poor judgment. It started a week ago when I stumbled upon a thong in my living room floor. Since it smelled clean, I couldn't resist the urge to investigate further and put it in my wife's underwear drawer. Fast forward to 2 days ago, when my wife discovered the thong in her drawer while getting ready for a bath. She immediately confronted me, asking where it came from. I tried to brush it off by claiming it must have fallen from the laundry basket, but she was furious. As I tried to explain the situation, it became clear that she was extremely skeptical of my story. I couldn't blame her. I was starting to doubt my own explanation. To make matters worse, I had a female friend over a week ago, and we had a beer together. I sent her a picture of the thong and asked if it belonged to her. To my surprise, it did belong to her, and we were both puzzled as to how it ended up in my living room. We eventually came up with a possible explanation. Static electricity from the dryer might have caused it to get stuck to her clothing. However, when I tried to share this explanation with my wife, I think my boyfriend has been drugging me to make me forget things. He is a doctor. This is in North Texas. Hey, so I must apologize if this post is jumbled a bit. I started typing it up in Word yesterday before my date and forgot about it before finishing it today. I think I'm starting to suspect that my boyfriend has been manipulating me for some time now, and I believe he might be using his medical knowledge against me. We live in North Texas. I apologize if this post seems disorganized. I started writing it in a Word document yesterday before my date, but I got sidetracked and forgot to finish it. Lately, I've noticed that I've been experiencing strange gaps in my memory, which I initially brushed off as exhaustion or overwork. However, I began to notice a pattern. These memory lapses seem to occur when I'm with my boyfriend. As he's a doctor, I thought maybe he could help me figure out what's going on, but then I started to piece together other disturbing signs. There have been several instances where I woke up with dried semen on my body, and I have no recollection of the night before. I know this sounds unbelievable, but I have reason to believe it's him, and I won't go into specifics. Initially, I thought it was just a result of too much to drink, as we do get intoxicated and have sex frequently. But then there were times when I knew we hadn't been drinking, and still, I'd wake up with no memory of the night. TIFU by telling my son there was a fictional being called the Pecker Snatcher who steal his junk if he didn't put it away. So my 4-year-old son liked to dance around naked after baths and while changing him. As cute as he can be, it gets old after a while, and if you've ever my well-intentioned yet hilarious blunder, I've been trying to get my 4-year-old son into the habit of covering himself after baths and while changing. While it's undeniably adorable when he lets loose and dances around naked, the novelty eventually wears off, and the reality of having a young boy sets in. They develop an intense fascination with certain body parts, making it a daily struggle to get them to put on clothes. To address this, I made up a tale about a mysterious figure known as the Pecker Snatcher, who allegedly steals exposed body parts. My son looked at me with skepticism, but I insisted that it was the truth, even going so far as to claim that the pecker snatcher had already gotten his sister. He bought the story and quickly put on his pants. However, things took an unexpected turn when my son and his sister started to elaborate on this fictional character. They conjured up an image of a man carrying a basket full of pilfered peckers and weaving an entire mythology around the pecker snatcher. I was initially amused by their creative spin on the story, but my joy was short-lived, as my son began sharing this fantastical tale with his grandparents and teachers. Now my boyfriend, 35M, drugged me, 26F, with Benadryl because we got into an argument before our road trip and he wanted me to sleep the whole time. Update. Posted on Throwramer1 if anyone sees this, due to the 48-hour rule. Just wanted to go ahead and post and let y'all know I'm okay. Update 2. Here was the post that got removed. Holy shit, y'all. I haven't been on Reddit since I posted my original here and I did not expect this. I had to make an extra account with similar name to post because of the 48-hour thing, but I know a lot of people were genuinely worried about me, so I wanted to go ahead and post an update. Sorry if that's not allowed. Thank you guys so much. I can't even believe the response I got. I ended up calling my brother and telling him about it and asking him how I should handle it, and he got in his car to come get me before I even finished telling him what all had happened. Him freaking out more than anything else made me realize that I wasn't overreacting. I didn't tell my boyfriend I was leaving until my brother was parked on the street and I just walked out with a few things. So now I'm in a messy breakup situation where he's already tried to come by my mom's house even though I told him I didn't want to see him and that I'd get my stuff eventually, both from his parents' house where he's currently at and his actual house. Things are gonna be weird to figure out, but I just wanted to let you guys know that I'm totally okay. Thank you. I can't reply to everyone who reached out, messaged, so I hope you guys see this and know I appreciate it. Monday we decided to make the 8-ish hour drive back to our home state and quarantine there instead for a few months. Right before leaving, we got into a big fight because I wanted to stay at my mother's house for a while. He doesn't want me to, among other things I won't get into. Well, before leaving we decided to eat dinner so we didn't have to stop anywhere. Fast forward to our drive and not long after hitting the road I passed out. Don't even really remember falling asleep. Woke up one time for a while, drank some Gatorade which he gave me, and then I fell asleep again. I thought this was extremely weird because I wasn't tired hardly at all and we didn't even leave super early. I kept commenting on how weird it was that I was tired the whole drive and slept 90% of it. Yesterday the tension eased a bit and he made the offhanded comment that he wishes he could drug me more when I act out and argue with him. I ask him what he's talking about. Proceeds to tell me he put Benadryl in my drink and that's why I slept, so he didn't have to deal with me. He literally said this as though it wasn't that big of a deal. I'm still reeling from the conversation and completely floored. I don't know if I'm overreacting or not, but something tells me I'm not, and it's extremely fucked up to put medicine in drinks. I don't know what to do TIFU by calling my cat a fucking rat bastard in front of my online middle school students. So I'm a middle school teacher and my district is fully online, going back to in person soon though. I was teaching my class like normal when out of the corner of my eye, I saw. I embarrassed myself in front of my online students with an inopportune outburst. As an online middle school teacher, I've grown accustomed to teaching in a virtual environment. However, on this particular day, my feline companion turned my lesson into an unforgettable experience. My cat had developed a peculiar habit of jumping onto the plant table in my home office. On this day, he decided to take it up a notch by knocking over my prized money tree. This plant had been with me for 4 years, and I had a strong emotional attachment to it. The sudden destruction caused by my cat's mischievous behavior left me enraged. In an attempt to regain composure, I excused myself from the lesson, thinking I had muted my audio. I rushed to the room where my cat was causing chaos, trying to shoo him away so I could salvage what was left of my beloved plant. My frustration boiled over, and I uttered a phrase I wouldn't have used in polite company. A phrase my cat, affectionately known as a rat bastard, when in a playful mood, had just earned. Unfortunately, my attempt to keep the situation private didn't quite work out as planned. My students soon discovered that they had indeed heard everything that TIFU by buying my mom an Amazon device. I want to start by giving some background here. I basically live, eat, sleep and breathe Amazon. I need something, straight to Amazon. I use Kindle and Audible daily. Want to stream music, Amazon Music. Want a new movie, Prime Video. Run oh, my TIFU moment. Unintentionally sharing intimate photos with family. Background. I'm an Amazon enthusiast, relying heavily on the platform for daily needs. I have an Amazon account, which I use for various services such as Kindle, Audible, Amazon Music, and Prime Video. The convenience of having everything in one place is great, but it sometimes leads to mistakes. When looking for a solution to store photos, I discovered the Amazon Photos service, which offers free unlimited storage for Prime members. Since I'm a Prime member, I saw it as an opportunity to take advantage of this perk. I enabled the feature to automatically upload my phone's photos to Amazon Photos, thinking it was a convenient way to organize my memories. On my mom's birthday, I decided to get her a Fire TV stick, which I thought would be a great gift since she didn't have a smart TV. I purchased the device and was excited to see her enjoy it. However, I soon realized that I had made another mistake. When my mom set up the Fire TV stick, it signed into my Amazon account without asking for a password, displaying my personal photos on the TV. I had no idea that this could happen, and I was about to find out the consequences TIFU by wearing an ill-fitting bra to hook up the wonderful guy, 27M, that I've, 27F, been seeing for the past few months invited me to come over to his place last weekend. Let's call him Gardening Club Guy. So I spent a day before plucking, prepping and GE. Hooking up fails. The time I wore a bra that was 2 sizes too small. I recently had a rather interesting experience with Gardening Club Guy, a 27-year-old guy I've been seeing for a few months. He invited me